Hey everybody, here we're looking at the engine compartment of my 96 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited V8, and today I'm going to be talking about the power steering a little bit. This particular Jeep is one of the, I believe, the select few that were factory equipped with variable effort power steering, or variable assist power steering, or speed sensitive steering. There's several different names for it, but essentially the power steering pump on these models that have the variable assist steering, they have a electric solenoid on the output of the power steering pump. As you can see, this one does, and you can see it's unplugged, and I'll talk about why it's unplugged here in a moment. So for all the time I've had this thing, for most of the time I've had it, I've had zero issues with the power steering. The power assist worked perfectly fine, but starting last year, the power steering began to do some really bizarre things. Particularly, what it would do is, like, you'd start it up, go into a parking lot or just pulling out a driveway or any low-speed travel. The power steering, you have full power assist, didn't have to put a lot of effort into turning the steering wheel. But as soon as you hop on the highway, you notice that the steering wheel, you had to have a stiff arm on it to keep it in your lane, almost as if you were driving an old car that didn't have power steering. Yeah, pretty much like that. No whines from the power steering pump. Power steering pump was not low on fluid. No air leaks, nothing like that. It did later develop an air leak. It was after so essentially what I did is I did some troubleshooting with the thing. I flushed the power steering fluid because it had never been flushed since I had got the thing. It definitely needed to be flushed, but it wasn't long after that I started getting whining from the power steering pump, totally unrelated to the steering issue. So I actually had went to a junkyard and got this power steering pump off of another 96 4-liter. It's the one that had the variable assist, and I tell you, finding one with the variable assist was a bit of a challenge, but I've managed to find one. Got it swapped out. Still had the whine, so I had to take all this apart and replace an O-ring on the that goes to the inlet, which I think I'm going to focus on in a different video. But anyways, had fresh power steering fluid and everything. Had no issues until this spring. Then the original problem started to reoccur yet again, just at random times. I mean, it was really random. Some days power assist worked fine on the highway, but other days I'd have to have a stiff arm on the steering wheel, and it's like some days it was worse than others. And there was also a select few times to where on the highway the steering wheel was extremely light. It took no effort at all to steer on the highway. So it's hard to say if it was an issue with the solenoid itself, because I mean, this is a different power steering pump and different solenoid than the one that was on this vehicle. But yeah, it does seem like the vehicles with power assist or variable assist power steering, it's something that Chrysler tried for a select few years, and also GM and Ford, I think, also had some variants of this too. Matter of fact, YouTube videos as well as forum posts about the GM vehicles are what led me to figure out this problem, because it seems like there weren't many Grand Cherokees, or at least Jeeps, around this time period that had variable assist power steering. Most did not. So if I didn't mention already, when you pop the hood, you look at your power steering pump. If that solenoid is not present, more or less, this high pressure line hooks directly to your power steering pump. Yours doesn't have variable assist steering. So the way this system is supposed to work is at low speed, it's not restricting flow from the power steering pump to your steering gear at all, or it's not restricting it much. That way you have full power assist for slow speed turns and like maneuvering through parking lots and stuff like that, because when you're sitting still or barely moving, it takes more effort to steer. But once you get on the highway, the resistance to turn the wheel is lower, and also the engine's running at higher RPM, so the power steering pump is actually assisting more. And the way this is supposed to work is when you get up to a higher speed, it's supposed to, this solenoid energizes and starts to limit the amount of power steering assist from the pump to the steering gear. So I can't say for certain if it was if my issue was the solenoid itself, or if it was a sensor or something else in the variable assist system on this vehicle. So what I did is I unplugged this electrical connection completely, and I just zip tied it off this side. That way it wouldn't run up into anything like the belt or something like that. Zip tied out of the way, and just drove it. And ever since I've unplugged this solenoid, power steering works better than it ever has before. Now, since there's no longer variable assist on this thing, the solenoid's no longer actuating and limiting fluid or limiting assist on the highway. When you're on the highway, the steering, you don't have any road feel. The steering is very sensitive, and that's something you would have to become accustomed to after unplugging this. But if your Jeep is giving you power steering issues, and you know the fluid is fine, it's not low on fluid, your power steering pump is not whining. And I should mention, the power steering pump did not whine at all when this was happening. But when you get on the highway, or if you're just traveling down the road, you notice your steering wheel is very stiff. You have to have an extra tight grip on the steering wheel to steer the vehicle. Chances are the variable assist system is giving you problems. So what you could do is just unplug this solenoid completely, and that should solve your problem. Now, I was also looking online. Some people have gotten completely rid of the variable assist altogether. You can do this by swapping in a power steering pump that does not have the variable assist, but you'd also have to replace your high pressure line, because on the Jeeps that do not have variable assist, this little U connection is a bit different because it goes straight down into here rather than over here. So that's something to keep in mind. So again, if your Jeep is giving you, if the power steering is acting weird, and you pop the hood and you do see that you do have variable assist power steering, unplugging this connection is one way to troubleshoot the problem and could tell you if your power steering pump is bad or not. Now, the power steering pump that was on that was originally on here was not bad, but I don't think it was. I don't think it hurt to swap it out, because I think it was getting probably close to the end of its service life. I mean, this Jeep has almost 300,000 miles on it. And this one here was, I think I mentioned, it was a used pull. I pulled it at the parts yard off of another Jeep, similar to this one, except with the 4-liter and not the 5.2 liter. Now, before I wrap this up, one thing you should definitely pay attention to on these is that pulley right there. I think if yours is a 93 to 95 with the V8, they, I think, use a metal pulley, but sometimes if someone has serviced the power steering pump, they may replace it with this this composite or plastic pulley. The 96 through 98s and later, they do in fact have this plastic pulley. Now, you probably would be able to swap in a metal one, but what happens with these things is when they get old, they get cracks in them, and they can just essentially blow apart, and that's not something you want to happen. So next time you pop your hood on your Jeep, pay close attention to that pulley. Again, some of them are metal, and I think the 4-liters did have metal pulleys throughout some later years, I think up to 98, because this pump, I mentioned, it came off of a 96 with a 4-liter, and it had a metal pulley, but the pulley on the 4-liter is a smaller size and the belt has less ribs in it, so you would have to change out the pulley. This pulley, I think, cost me like $10. It's a Dorman pulley off of Amazon, so it's something to watch out for. So I think that about covers everything in this video. So hopefully that's helpful. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.